Thanks for coming out. We'll go ahead and get started now with a little bit of video. It takes about 5 minutes, and then I'll get right into talking about what we're going to talk about, bow hunting.
This is Randy Elmer. I'm in Colorado right now. I wish I was over there with you guys shooting the 3D shoot. Listen, I want you to listen to Mark. Of all the people I know that do backcountry mule deer and elk hunting, especially mule deer, Mark's kind of one of a kind. He's very devoted, he's very talented, and he's got a lot of great ideas. I've actually learned quite a few things from Mark and helped me kill some big mule deer like this. So listen up, pay attention, and say hi to everybody for me. Wish I was there. Take care.
All right, hey, Marc Smith, man, I'd love to be in the audience today listening to your seminar on backcountry bow hunting and especially mule deer hunting. That's what I remember most about you writing, and that's kind of how we first came in contact. Was you sent in an article to Eastman's Bow Hunting Journal when I was the editor more than 10 years ago, and you killed a big old backcountry buck, big old muley, and I thought, hey, maybe me and this guy are kindred spirits because you had kind of a cool looking mustache, and I had a sweet mustache on my first ever bow kill, big blacktail here in Oregon. So I thought with the mustache connection, the backcountry mountain connection, you know, maybe we're onto something. And then, you know, meeting you back at the ATA shows and a few other places, I just know, I guess we're cut from the same cloth. And just know I'd love to be sitting in the seminar today, and I know you're going to do a great job. And just remember, beast mode, baby. Put on a good show. Good luck.
It's all about you making it happen. It's all on you, 100%. And of course, unless you have somebody like the old man to watch your back, it's definitely a wonderful experience. It's great. I wouldn't trade for anything in the world. It has developed me as a hunter greatly. When I'm having to think that critically on a hunt, on top of everything, whether it's my gear, whether it's the animal, you know, if things don't go right, it's all on you. I was with my father when he took his most recent elk, and it was a pretty incredible experience. So we ended up locating a herd bull, beautiful, big bull. And my father, one thing about my father, he gets it done. I'm aspiring to be there, but it's going to be quite a while before I'm there. It takes a lot to get as skilled as he is. He managed to sneak in on this herd bull by belly crawling on the side of the mountain. It was incredible. He raised up, shot, ranged shot, and then I couldn't see the bull at that point. And he shot, you heard a smack, and then a loud crash. And if you haven't had the experience of being around a big animal when it goes down, it's pretty frightening. He shot, this thing went down, loud crash, big bang. He threw his hands up. It was great. It was a really touching experience. We walked up on the bull. I had never in my life, I've seen elk. I've been on elk. I've been close when they're alive. You know, in the wilderness, they look big. it went pretty big. But whenever you actually walk up on a dead one, that's a whole other thing. It was a huge monster, you know, neck, probably a good yard, maybe not a yard, close to a yard big. And so you can kind of judge it on what the body would be from that. It was the most incredible thing to see something that big taken by, you know, my father. It's a pretty incredible experience.
Okay, so there's some good endorsements for some people that mean a lot to me. Cameron Haynes and Randy Ulmer, guys that I've been friends with Cameron Haynes a long time and looked up to Randy Ulmer a long time, and we've all shot 3Ds together and competed and hunted and done things together. And I wanted to put that in there because what I'm talking about today is my passion. Backcountry bow hunting is 100% what I do. I hunt by myself or with very close friends and family, and I hunt 100% on public land. I do it all myself. No guides, no outfitters, because I'm a working man. I'm a working man just like almost everybody in this room. I have a day job, I have a real job, but I've poured my heart and soul into backcountry bow hunting and bow hunting in general, and I'm sure that's what you guys are. You're just like me, and that's why you're in here. And you're like, what does this guy know that I don't know? What's the secret? Maybe everybody in this room's killed bigger bulls than me or bigger bucks than me. I know some of you have. I know Dustin had. But I kill one every year. I get something every year. I fill my deer tag every single year over in Colorado. I fill my elk tag every year when I get one. And it's because of the dedication that I have. It's what I put into my shooting. It's what I put into my preparation for the hunts. Every year, right after Thanksgiving, I start fattening up and I get a little thick, and you have Christmas and New Year's and Valentine candy, and next thing you know, man, you're struggling to bend over and tie your shoes, and weather warms up in Colorado, and you hit the trails and you start running. I'll usually shed about 25 pounds in the summer, and get back lean, around a lean 200 in the summertime, and start hiking and scouting, and I prepare for it that way, and I get ready, and it's what I dream about 24/7, 365. I'm thinking about bow hunting. Took my son Travis on his first backcountry hunt this year. He's hunted high country mule deer with me there in Colorado a lot, but he had not done any real hardcore backcountry. I'm talking putting on your Badlands pack, getting your Sitka gear, going in for 7-8 days, not coming out. And in the end of this presentation, you'll see that's a lot of what we're going to talk about, mental preparation and how to deal with the elements of the backcountry. And it was pretty eye-opening because I'm a little jaded. I've been doing it a long time. I've been bow hunting for 30 years. I've been hunting out west for 20 years and hunting backcountry Colorado for about 15 years. So I had a big learning curve when it came to equipment choices, decisions I made, camp choices, those sort of things. Travis was sitting on a log, absolutely deflated at the end of the hunt. We just bumped, and all those hunts, that bull you saw was on an over-the-counter area, do-it-yourself. I mean, just general national forest backcountry stuff. I was lucky to get that bull. It was around a 300 class bull, and Travis had, my son had an opportunity at a true 320 class bull, and the bull got away from us. And after your body and your mind shut down, and you have that kind of heartache on top of all that you put into that hunt, you know, you never prepare for if I don't get one. It's all about where's the mountain going to go. I'm going to have to get a new freezer because I'm going to get an elk. And he did get one. And to see that look on your buddy's face is one thing, but then when you see that on your 20-year-old son's face, he, all the way walking out, he says, Dad, this is what you need to talk about in your seminars, the stuff that I'm going to cover today. He says, these are things that you just don't think about. These are the things that these aren't the glamorous things that people talk about in the hunting industry, all the hunting celebrities and the other pro staffers like me that have seminars. It's all about how to kill an elk, how to kill a deer or a duck or a turkey or whatever, and that's good information. But there's a lot of guys I know that are better at this than I am. They're as dedicated as I am. They're at least as good as I am. But if you've not done, especially for young folks, I really like talking to the young people. They see these kind of hunts and they think, man, I want to go do something like that someday. Well, there's a lot of things to account for other than just how Rocky and Corey teach us how to call elk. And you know what pack we picked up over Badlands. Those are important things. But let's get to talking about some of the things that are very important on this type of a hunting trip. Number one, why the backcountry? Why am I even talking about this? There's a whole new age of young folks that are students of Cameron Haynes, right? They want to lift, run, shoot every day. It's their lifestyle, and that's good. But I'm living proof you don't have to be an athlete to hunt. I don't know where athletes came into bow hunters. Somewhere in the last couple of years that's really taken off. I'm just an old country boy and I like elk steaks. And I've learned the best way to go get elk steaks is get away from a lot of people. I'm not out there to endure and see what all I can. I know how tough I am and I know what my limits are. And I've pushed myself right up to those limits. And everybody needs to know their own limits. But I know I'm not out there to be the fastest guy on the hill or I can shoot a bow 110 yards at an elk. I'm not into all that garbage. I'm about putting steaks in my freezer, and if I can get some big headgear with that, excellent. But sometimes I don't get headgear. Sometimes I'll shoot a cow, sometimes I'll shoot a doe. But what I have learned, this style of hunting this isn't just a popularity thing for me. This is where I go, and I get away from people, and I get into unpressured animals. Trophy class animals, you get far back in there, you'll see deer and elk. Now, I hunted Utah a couple of times. Hunted the Wasatch. I hunted down in the southeast corner, the Monticello area. The Monticello area was a lot more remote, pretty rugged. But everywhere I've gone in Utah and central Utah, especially on the Wasatch, I go over the mountain, there's a road. I go over the mountain and there's a road. It's not like you can put on a pack and just go forever. In Colorado, we have that. You can get up on the Continental Divide, you can get to some of those mountain units in central Colorado and you just go forever. You can actually walk until you just don't see anything. Not quite as wild as Wyoming, but it's pretty wild. Not knocking Utah, I love Utah. Utah's got some great mule deer hunting, excellent elk hunting. But this kind of hunting, you can get up in the Wasatch and you can get up in there and there's places you can go for a few days and as long as you're not dropping off, you're not going to run into cars or trucks or roads, but you're going to run into people. Almost everywhere I've ever been up there, I run into somebody. There's places that I hunt in Colorado and I won't even see another human for 8, 10 days. But you get back in there, you get that secluded, you're going to find wild animals. You're going to find animals that have got age on them. That's what you always want in the back of your mind. You want to have that opportunity to kill a big animal. I mean, we all do. Unpressured. You're the first guy in. Some of those animals in their entire lives never seen another person. That's the reason why you want to be back there. They're not going to respond or react the same way a deer on the Wasatch. He's going to sit on the ridge every day and he watches the same guys in City Park and watches them go up where they glass. As soon as the first guy drops off in, he's got 15 dudes watching and going to go shoot a buck. The bucks just go down to the bottom. I watched it all last November when I came over here hunting. In Colorado, some of the high country basins I hunt, those deer will sit there and they don't even know what you are. They're smart enough to know to get away, but your opportunity to get a lot closer is a lot easier. It's adventurous. I like adventure in my hunting. And I like the solitude. And I'm going to talk about hunting with a partner, hunting on your own, because that's something else you're going to have to factor in. There are a lot of factors that go into who you choose as a hunting partner on this style of hunting. Anybody know who that guy is with me there? Fellow White Pro staffer Dennis Howe. I'd hunt anything, any day, anywhere, anytime with that guy. Our lifestyles mirror each other. Both of our kids are grown. Both of us, all of our kids are grown. We have grandchildren now. Me and him can go on a hunt, and we don't even have to speak to each other. It can just be a series of groans and moans and groans and elbows and maybe a, whatever. And we know what each other's thinking because we've been bow hunting about the same amount of time. We lead the same kind of lifestyle. Very important to me to be on a mountain with a man that I know can take care of me if something happens. I know what his expectations of the hunt are. I know what he knows what mine are. He killed this on this, if I was hunting with a guy I barely knew, I've taken my whole vacation, right? I've saved all my money. I bought the best carbon bows and Badlands packs and Sitka gear and Kuiu, and I bought all the stuff. Vortex optics, I've got the best of the best gear. And I go out in the mountains and all I'm thinking about is killing a deer and elk. That's what I want to do. And then your buddy radios you on day 2. I've killed a big buck in the bottom of the canyon. Now this may seem selfish, and there's a lot of people that I hunt with that I'd say, man, that just ruined my hunt. I like this guy, I came hunting with this guy, but now I'm done. It's going to take 3 days to get this buck or bull packed up and out of there. You need to factor that in. If you choose a hunting partner and you want to go on a hunt like this where you're going to be gone for a long time and you've got a lot of mental investment, emotional investment in it, you need to know that if this guy kills a buck and I don't, I'm okay with that because I like this guy a lot. I like him enough. And I don't have that many friends that I like enough to watch them kill bucks and bulls. I just don't. You never hear anybody say that. I'm saying it. My son, that's why I hunt with him the most. Because if he kills something, that's better than if I killed it. And if my cousin or some of my very closest relatives, but now you know you're talking, you're a long way from home, you're tired, you're invested, and as soon as he pulls the trigger on his release, your hunt's over. If you're worth your weight in salt, because you're going to stop your hunting, you're going to help this guy out. Now you really need to think about that, because I've seen some friendships go pretty sour over something like that happening in the backcountry. Two guys hunting together, one guy kills one, the other guy doesn't want to stop him. Hell, other guy's elk sitting there rotting away while this one guy's working his tail off trying to get it out. It happens. You need to at least provoke the thought. Think about these things. Genuine friendship, same habits and lifestyle, understand each other's level of experience, have clear goals, expectations. That's what me and Dennis did. I'm going to give you another scenario. Hunting with a young editor of a bow hunting magazine a couple of years ago down in the wilderness area in southwest Colorado. We had cell service. I hated that more than anything I think I've ever hated my entire life. Man, when I leave home and I go into backcountry and I'm going to engage in the wilderness, I'm going to engage in God's beauty and I'm going to hunt, that's what I'm there to do. I don't want to watch somebody walk circles around the campfire texting all night long. Oh, tell him I said goodnight. Oh, hang on a second, I got to call home. So-and-so got to go to bed. He just can't go to sleep unless I talk to him. Man, the first night I'm like, yeah, cool, man, we all love our children. Go ahead and call him. By day 3, man, I'm like, man, you're ruining my experience. I had to finally tell him, I'm out here to disconnect from all that kind of stuff. I'm out here to hunt. I'm out here to enjoy my life. My wife knows where I'm at. When I was that young man, we didn't even have cell phones. Hardly. When my kids were these guys' ages, we were just getting them to where everybody had a cell phone. But when they were little bitty, I didn't have that. I'd draw specific plans, tell my wife where I was going hunting. Nobody would hear from me for 10 days. When I came back, I'm back. Now, modern world, I think Duck Dynasty had this not too long ago. Phil was on there. Nope, not for me, right? It's not for me either. I'm pretty young, but I'm old enough to know this stuff's not for me, especially in the hunting world. It's just not. It's aggravating. So, but if you are that way, and this guy's that way, and you both are that way, that's great. You're not going to get on each other's nerves. But after 5-6 days, you smell like creek bottom, you feel like one too, and you're not this kind of guy, you're going to take a rock and bash his brains in over it. Like, put that thing away. I don't want to do that. I'm really a nice guy. I'm really not a mean person. But I am clear on my direction when I go hunting. And that there's a lot of, maybe that's why I don't hunt with many people, because people are like, no, this guy's crazy. I'm not going out to do this. And that's okay. But I know who I am. I understand who I am, what I'm about. And I'm out there for the purest, best experience that I can have, because I dream about it all year long. And I understand in the technical world today that, hey, somebody might need stitches. Well, does that mean you're going to leave the whole hunt and go home, get the kids' foot sewed up because whatever? I understand you got to do that. But when I was at the age my kids were out tearing their feet up on bikes needing stitches, I'd get home and find out about it because there's already a bill in my mailbox for $500 for the stitches, right? He lived. We're making sissies out of our kids with all this stuff. So men are tough. Men are meant to be tough. I know. I'm just on my soapbox. Don't get me started. Solo. So if you're going to go with somebody, make sure you guys understand each other. Make sure you're on the same path. If you're going to go by yourself, here's another thing. So you are in your mid-20s, and you are a techie guy, and you're boop, 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 all the time, all day long. I'm going to update my Facebook. I just ate a hamburger. Ha ha, LOL. Oh, it tasted like crap. Ha, LOL. Okay, good. Update your face. I update my Facebook with stuff that makes no sense all the time. It's fun to do. But when I go hunting, I take my phone, I turn it off when I leave the trailhead so that I have it for emergencies. But I have it in my pack. When I get out there, I try to go and just totally turn the world off. enjoy myself. That's what I try to do. But I work in an industry where I'm on a computer, and I'm doing billing, and I'm doing processes every day in the computer world. And I'm working on my phone, I'm doing all this. When I go hunting, turn it off. But what you got to remember, when you go out in the wilderness and you're used to that kind, because you may have human interaction all day long at your job that you do now. You have interaction with your wife and your kids and all that. But when you get out by yourself in the wilderness on a backcountry hunt, everything's shut off. But you're fired up because you're at the trailhead. Your binoculars are bouncing on your chest. Your pack's squeaking. It's heavy. You're feeling your lungs burning, your legs burning. You're getting into the backcountry to go hunt deer and elk, and everything's fine. And you set your camp up, pull your bow back a couple times, get everything just the way you want it, and then the sun starts going down. And now you don't have all this stuff. If you're in an area that doesn't have cell service, you don't have a phone. You don't have your computer. You don't have that interaction with other people. When you don't have interaction with other people or someone to talk to, and I'll talk to the squirrels. You already know I'm crazy. I don't care. But if you don't have someone to talk to, man, you put your life under a microscope. And I'm telling you, I'm only telling you guys this because I've already done this stuff. Got all excited about going hunting. And I pushed all my chores to the side. And I skipped a soccer game, and I did this, and I did that. And then you get out in the mountains. You don't have your phone. You don't have your computer. Every bad conversation you ever had with your mom, your wife, every soccer game you skipped for your own selfishness because we're guys, we're techie, we want our gear, we want to get going in the woods, all this stuff starts coming up. And then the guilt starts in. And I've seen that sabotage more backcountry hunts for guys that weren't prepared than just about anything. That and fear. They get out, they just simply get scared of the dark. There's just, nobody talks about that, right? We're all men, we don't, what do you mean scared of the dark? Sometimes I get scared of the dark. Not scared of the dark, it's the scared of not knowing. You know, I grew up in an area of in East Texas, Northeast Texas. One of the highest rates of Bigfoot sightings in the whole state of Texas, right? I just knew by the time I was 12, 15 years old, there was no doubt in my mind I was going to die to the hands of the Rock Creek Monster. There was no doubt in my mind Sasquatch was going to kill me out in the woods hunting and fishing. I grew up hunting and fishing in the woods. And that was just, my fate was written. That's how I'm going to die. I moved out west when I was young and I became fearless, where I actually had things that could kill me and eat me, and I never cared about it. I didn't think about mountain lions, bears. You go hunting bears, they'll run off if they see you. They'll never mess with you. Well, you don't have bear problems until you have bear problems. In 2009, I had major bear problems. I had a real tasty, dried, one of those mountain house meals. It was a real tasty, real aromatic chicken and rice with some kind of sweet and sour, right? Smelled delicious. And I ate about half of it because those are for 2 people. I couldn't eat the whole thing. I put it in my tent. I didn't set it out. I didn't do proper things. I didn't go put the trash away in a trash bag. Well, another mistake I made is I was hunting elk in an area that was a very high bear relocation area. So now I have put myself smelling like chicken and rice in the middle of the night in a place full of problem bears. And I had a problem bear. It was a terrible experience. I think I had post-traumatic stress disorder for a couple of years over it. My wife wouldn't even let me sleep in the same bed for a couple of weeks. I'd wake up I just woke up one night just shaking the dickens out of her, and she said, "What's wrong with you?" I was like, "You need to go get help." But it scared me really bad. It scared me really, really. Am I lying, son? It's a true story. So you don't have problems with that kind of stuff till you do. In the next couple of years, man, I'm a backcountry guy. I'm Marc Smith, Mr. Go Back and Live Out of a Backpack, blah, blah, blah. That's my life. That's who I am. And I didn't have very much success for a couple of years. And man, I was middle of the night, setting up. Didn't want to sleep. I didn't want to have any more problems. Pay attention. If you're going to eat stuff like that, put it in a trash bag, tie it up. Don't ever get lazy in your camp chores. Always pay attention to your chores. Put your stuff away. Make sure before you go hunting, as excited as you are, don't put your life on the back burner. Take care of the details. Take mama out to dinner. Go to the soccer games. Take care of everything so that when you go hunting and you turn the world off, man, you can focus on the one thing you're there to do, and that's to hunt and make meat. fear. I put fear on there. If you do your homework, you do the things you're supposed to do, you can eliminate a lot of your fears. Things that I'm frightful of when I go hunting, set my camp up in the middle of bear country that has problem bears in it, but now I do my research. If I'm going to hunt a new area, I call the Division of Wildlife and just say, is this a known bear relocation area? Simple phone call. I'm going to be on a backcountry hunt. I believe this state, you can't carry in this state, right? You can't carry a handgun while you can?
Yes, you can.
You can? In Colorado, you can. I never, ever did. I said, wait, I don't need that. But you know what it did was it opened my eyes up to, it actually opened my eyes up to I'm putting myself in a dangerous situation. I'm alone, in the middle of nowhere, and more of this infiltration of drug cartel and all this stuff. You don't know who's setting up base where. So yeah, it was a bear that messed with me tonight, but if that had been a human being with wrong intentions, I'd have never woke up the next day. They probably would have killed me if it was the wrong person. So after I thought that through, I went and got my carry and did all that. And I pack a gun sometimes now. It depends on where I'm going and how far in and how long I'm going to be. But and I may never use it, but you know what? I sleep really good right under my pillow, under my sleeping bag. It's just a little short 357, and it feels good just knowing I have it. Probably wouldn't hit nothing with it no how, but I like having it. So, those are things you've never probably heard somebody get up here and talk to you about backcountry hunting. What's this guy? Wacko, don't like anybody, he's scared of everything, but he's full of garbage. No, I've just been doing it for a long, long time. And these are the things that I really do cope with. And that loneliness thing, that's real. When Travis first started high country deer hunting, we went up on a hunt. He had to go a few days before me, and I saw it. I saw it firsthand. He got up to the trailhead a few days before me. I get there, and he's sitting on a stump with his head hanging down, and I was like, what's wrong? Oh, man, I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to go home and break up with my girlfriend. I'm not right for her. I said, hey, man. I said, you got the high country blues. Don't worry about it. You've been up here by yourself too long, man. He's married to that girl today, and he has a great job. He's doing great. Man, the Smiths were weirdos, man. What's wrong with you? No, but he was a young man. He was 18, 19 years old at the time, and he wanted to go a few days. He wanted to have that experience by himself, and he went before me. But man, it affects you. It really, truly does to just get off by yourself. And you know, a lot of people say it's not safe to go hunting by yourself, but I prefer almost, other than hunting with my son or closest friends, I'd much rather just be by myself. So, those are some things that I wanted to provoke thought. No big deal, but think about it. Next year when you're preparing for all your hunts, if you find yourself drawing one of these awesome tags this weekend, it's going to put you in a part of the state you've never been in, think about that. You know, hey, I drew a Henry Mountain tag. That's okay, there'll be 5,000 people up there with binoculars, you'll be safe. But anyway, I can always tell when somebody kills something in Utah, there'll be 15 dudes in the picture with it. Is that mean to say? But it is true. Every time I research it, I'm like, when do you think that my wife and I will be looking through Trophy Hunter or Eastman's Mule Crazy? She'll say, where do you think that buck was killed? That's killed in Utah. How do you know? There's 15 people in the picture. But if you do find yourself going to a spot you've never been in, you could end up by yourself. You know what? These are things I want you to think about, because I want you guys to be successful. I want everybody to love it as much as I love it. And by gosh, I love it. I love bow hunting, and I love hunting in wild places, but I want you to be successful. So, any of you have been to my seminars before? Anybody? I know some of you have. Anybody see me talk here last year, the year before? Raise your hand. Some of my seminars have been about tactics on hunting mule deer. That's my passion. It's my favorite thing to hunt. High country mule deer. And I'll even pick up a rifle and hunt mule deer down in the low country in the late season. I love hunting mule deer the most. And then a close second is elk. I like to hunt elk too. And my seminars in the past have always been about tactics, on how I go about finding, locating deer and all that stuff. And then one of my seminars was about the bantamweight, high-end carbon bows, the right boots, and all that stuff. Well, I didn't cover a bunch of that this time. I've already done that here. But I'm going to be over at the Hoyt booth after this seminar. And if anybody wants to talk about gear, packs, boots, Sitka gear selections, how to build your system, I'll be glad to talk to you about it. But here's some things I relearned in 2012 in high country mule deer, because I drew one of my favorite second choice high country mule deer tags in Colorado. Here's something I'll relearn. If you've had success in finding deer in an area in the past, stick with your spot. There is no holy grail. There is no the next pasture's greener. Once you get into a spot where you're finding bucks in a high country basin, if you go scout them out in the summer and you find them, they're always going to be there. Now, if somebody comes in, and the areas in Utah that I've hunted were like something I'd call micro units or micro areas. Mountains that come to a very specific bowl, a very specific peak. And if you bump a buck out of that, that thing could go clear across the canyon into another drainage. So your hunting here is a little different than what I'm talking about in Colorado. And if you ever find yourself over in Colorado, you can use this information. Or in Wyoming, or Idaho, any of those states. But I've noticed that some of the high peaks I've hunted here in Utah, especially the Wasatch and down south, and you can easily bump those deer out of those spots and they act like elk. They'll go clear across over to another basin and you got to start all over again. Colorado, because of the way it's set up, the way that country that I hunt in is so big and vast that you can bump bucks up and down the Continental Divide or over the divide into a different drainage. So you might approach that a little less cautious. The problem I run into is I hunt right on the edge of a unit boundary. So if I buck deer and they go over the Continental Divide into the other unit, I got to wait for them to come back before I have a chance to hunt deer on that specific tag. But if you're going to find a spot, and the reason I say that is this is a spot I've hunted off and on for about 12 years. 2011, I absolutely gave up on the spot. I could not find a shooter buck, a mature buck, and I ended up filling my tag on a doe. I wasn't going to shoot a fork and horn or a little 3-point because there just weren't very many bucks. I said, I've never killed a mule deer doe, ever. So if I'm not going to find and kill a big buck, I still want my meat, I'm going to shoot a doe. And I ended up shooting a doe last year. Talked to a friend of mine that had been bow hunting in Colorado, the high country, for 30 plus years. And I called him up and I told him, I said, hey, Marv Klinke is his name. I said, hey, I'm thinking about giving up on my spot. I had a bad year. He said, you just had a bad year? He said, man, deer have been coming in them basins since dinosaurs roamed the earth. You just had an off year. We had a lot of late snow. I said, okay. So I put back in for that unit, went over. It was the best year ever. It was the best year it had been since 2004. I killed a 186-inch buck in there in 2004. I ended up killing a mid-150s, real nice 4-point this year. But I saw a lot of great bucks. So weather, snowfall, things can affect where those deer migrate back to, those high country deer. But don't give up on the spot just because you had a bad season. I almost did that, and I'm glad I did not. Deer can show up anywhere. This is another thing. Like, really, do you really need to tell us this? Well, it happened to me, and I'm a veteran, been doing it a long time. Deer can show up anywhere. If you put yourself in a backcountry setting, and you're with the game, you're in a bivy sack or you're in a small bivy camp, you have placed yourself purposely in a spot full of game. That's your intention, right? They can be anywhere. So when you wake up opening morning at the crack of daylight and you unzip your tent, don't just jump out. Unzip the tent and look, because there could be 3 really big 4-points 30 yards looking at your tent. That's what happened to me this year. One of them was one I wanted to kill. He was almost 190-inch buck. I scouted him in the summer. I unzipped my tent just wow, like I own this mountain, I know everything, and I stepped out, and they didn't even run. They're like, what? And I was like, what? So, when you put yourself in backcountry on a deer hunt, elk hunt, bear hunt, any sheep, same thing happened to me in my sheep hunt. I hunted 22 days when I had my sheep tag in Colorado. Never knocked an arrow. The closest I ever got to a sheep was 15 yards. You say, well, how did you mess that up? I went to sleep in the middle of the day, and a rock clicking woke me up. And instead of waking up and having my faculties and figuring out what's going on, I just jumped up to my feet. Whole band of rams right below me, 15 yards. Screwed it up, didn't get one. They can show up anywhere. Use experience to know where the deer will be and what they'll do. That buck I told you about in 2004, this is the buck I killed in 2004. There was a pointer up here. This is important stuff here now, I'm going to tell you. Yeah, right here. See this rock outcropping? I was way down this canyon. I looked up here. This buck, I've been hunting for 7 days. He finally split off of a band of 5 other bucks he was with. He was by himself, sleeping in this hole right here in the shade. And I was way down the canyon. I glassed up. I could see his antlers turning in the sunlight. He had just moved location or something, because I just glassed, didn't see anything. Looked back up a few minutes later, and I could see his antlers in that hole. Got the wind right, snuck around, came down this ridge, shot him right off that point, about a 40-yard shot, killed him. He ran right there and died. Now that was in 2004. In 2012, I killed that buck in the same spot. Now, here's that canyon right here. That's where that buck was bedded, right? Buck was bedded right over here in this hole. This little basin right here always loads up with bucks in the middle of the day. This is high country willow right here. This is what they'll feed on. They'll bed in it, feed on it, sleep in it. They'll live right in this big patch. That buck right there that I killed, he was coming off the Continental Divide up here on this big peak, and he was in a mad dash. It was like 7 o'clock in the morning. The sunlight was on him. Beautiful, beautiful thing. He was coming down in this basin, and I knew bucks always bed here. So I got the wind right. Been hunting for 12 years, off and on. Got the wind right. You see my jacket, my Sitka deer jacket laying right there? I got on my knees. I could see the deer's antlers. He wasn't coming down. He had turned, was going to come over and bed in this stuff. And this big patch of willow goes all the way like over to here. So I got on my knees, and when I seen his antler tips coming over this, he came around, and we got right down here, about 35 yards. I shot him. But I didn't give up on my spot. It was almost like it was handed to me. Here's this beautiful buck all by himself, running right out in the middle of the wide open, and one of the closest mule deer shots I ever made, 35 yards. It's because I didn't give up on my spot, and I knew what the deer would do in that situation. Anybody in here bow hunt mule deer? Yeah, good. Y'all hunt right here in Utah? Yeah. Anybody ever hunted the Book Cliffs for archery deer? Oh my gosh. I think if I die, I'd just soon go there and go to heaven. If I had enough arrows. Man, the Book Cliffs. Yeah, if I ended up there without arrows, I might realize I'd gone somewhere else. That place is absolutely incredible. I had that tag in 08, and it's my favorite place I've ever hunted deer in my life. I mean, I only hunted 3 days because that's the year I had the sheep tag. I saw 41 4-point bucks in 3 days of hunting, and I ended up shooting a 3-pointer. That was like I couldn't find a really big, and I would heard that was a great hunt. I couldn't find a big 4-point. But there was a lot of really big 3-points in there. So instead of killing a little 2-year-old 4-point, I decided to shoot one of the 27-inch wide 3-points. Nice buck. So, talk about elk hunting here a little bit. Everybody in here bow hunt elk? Want to? Hunting Utah for elk is pretty tough, isn't it? I mean, it's either feast or famine. You draw a great unit, but the general stuff's pretty tough, right? Mm-hmm. Would you say it's pretty tough here? Yeah. Dustin, you've killed some pretty good bulls on the general hunt here, haven't you? Yeah. I've never hunted elk here, but I'll tell you what, I was down in the San Juan hunting those deer in that region, and that is absolutely elk heaven. I mean, giant bulls, lots of them. And I started building points. I'm going to get that tag someday. This is the bull I killed with Travis this year. This is an over-the-counter general tag elk. The key to this hunt was I've been hunting the same spot since 2003. I knew exactly what the elk were going to do. Once I found them, every year I would think about putting in or going somewhere else. I decided I'll just start building points. So in 2003 or 2, I started building elk points and kept hunting the same over-the-counter area. And it was just by fate I found this spot. It's a really remote backcountry spot, and every year I find elk in it. Here's something I'm going to tell you that have been the keys to my success on killing. I've killed 13 bulls, all of them on the general hunt. None of them are draw hunts. And the key is this right here. For me, and I don't know how it works here for you. Again, I'm just provoking thought. Find a way to work some of this strategy into your hunting. I hunt during the muzzleloader season. Now, is your muzzleloader season for elk during or after? After. Okay. Do any of you go over to Colorado and hunt elk? Okay. This right here is a big deal. Some of the guys that kill some of the best bulls in Colorado know this. And they use this to their advantage. I love muzzleloader hunting too. I'm not an anti-anything. I like guns, bows, slingshots, rocks, whatever. I get a legal season on, I'll go do it. But the muzzleloaders, the elk act really docile, and they're out in the open. You see them, and they'll do a little bit of location bugles, and the cows will start chirping in early September, late August, early September. As soon as that first muzzleloader goes off up in the top of the basin where I hunt, those elk shut up. After opening day, they know it's over. All the just openly vocalizations and all the stuff that's going on up in the very easy access areas, there's enough pressure from everybody on the, and I hunt a really big remote area, and at the tops of the mountains, the tops of the basins, there's roads everywhere, finger roads. And I learned a long time ago, as soon as all that muzzleloader activity starts, because a few bow hunters in there aren't going to make that big of a ruckus. We're not making any noise, no guns going off. Our scent's in there. But once the guns start, that brings a big concentration of even more hunters in. And since they have a limited time, they have 1 week. You get a 10-day hunt, I think it is, 9 or 10 days for a muzzleloader hunt. You know, you take 1,000 bow hunters and throw them in a unit, and they've got 30 days. That spreads your weekends and your time off. So the guys aren't on top of each other that much. The muzzleloader guys get 1 week, so they're all there at once, and they all stink, and they're all shooting their guns off at night. They're all emptying their muzzleloaders, and that's fine. You got to do that stuff. But man, the elk are savvy, and when they start hearing that, it starts pushing them down. And the spot that I killed that bull that you saw was 6 miles down in the bottom of that big basin, and Travis and I were there. And every single day, from when I like to get there like the Friday before the muzzleloader starts, I get backpacked in, and every day I'll start hearing more and more bugles. We'll start seeing more and more bulls, and the elk just start showing up. And I use that to my advantage. And I didn't learn that overnight. I learned it just by years of doing it. I use the pressure of other hunters. Be where the herd is going. When you're going to be on a backcountry hunt, once you figure out, some of this stuff you're never going to scout. If you get into the backcountry that far, you're just going listening for bugles. But the elk, I don't know if you were in Christy Titus's seminar earlier, but she hit it right on the head. Those elk are up in the dark timber. Corey said it. They're on the north side of the dark timber. They feed out in the little meadows. They're going to do that every day. And they may go to this drainage and then this meadow and then this drainage and that meadow. But they're all in this basin right here. They're all in one general spot. Once you get figured out where those elk are going to be, you need to get you enough food, supplies, your bedroll, your backpack, your tent, whatever. Get to where those elk are going to be, because a lot of times, especially the elk are getting more and more educated in Colorado. I'm sure they're getting educated here. They just know calls. They're not coming in like they used to. And then you can be the best caller in the world, and there are some really good ones here. They may tell me I'm wrong. But I truly believe that areas that get a lot of hunting pressure, man, they just have a way of knowing, because we hoot on them too much, or we're not saying exactly what we need to say at the right time. There's a lot about vocalization. So I gave up on it. And another thing, if you're in the backcountry and you're by yourself and you're calling, you got an elk coming right at you. That's always a bad deal. If you're by yourself calling, put your Montana decoy up or something. That's something you got to pack in with you. I tried it a couple of times, but it's just in the way. I don't like messing with it. But you put a Montana decoy up, and you get over and you're calling, and maybe that bull will see that thing and go over to the side. But more times than not, man, those elk can pinpoint exactly where you're at. So if you're by yourself calling, you have an elk coming, you're going to have a brisket shot. I won't take that shot anymore. A head-on shot. I won't do it. And I shoot heavy poundage. I shoot fixed broadheads. I shoot heavy arrows. But elk and big animals like that were designed. They're protected. Their brisket's tough. Their hairs are thick. They were designed that way to fight, run through bushes. We're trying to put little arrows in there, and I just won't do it anymore. So what I do is I get a bull calling, and I'll just stalk in on him. And I think Christy sat right here and said she won't stalk into a bedding area. But I don't know how long she's been hunting, but I'm telling you right now, about 8 of those 13 bulls I've killed in the middle of the day when they're laying up there doing their midday vocalization. You've ever heard that? In August, September, you'll hear bugles all day long when it's hot on fire, but they're bedded down for the day. I would much rather have an elk call me in than me call one in by myself. Now, if I have a caller and he can bring an elk back by me broadside, that's great. But if I can get one bugling, that's how I killed that bull this year, just like Travis said. I slipped off my boots, I belly crawled out in that meadow, and I waited till the time was right. A small 5-point came into the meadow to check on the cows. That big bull saw him, came around to run him out of the meadow. When he did, he ran right past me 40 yards and I shot him. And so these are my tactics. You have your own. Do what you want. I'm provoking thought. I like to get them going. Once they're going, I'll go in and just shoot them. Plan for success. If you're going to go on a backcountry hunt, here's another thing I'm going to preach about a little bit. Don't waste your meat. That's why you're back there hunting. Don't get in there and kill something that you can't get out. I was 6 miles in, and I know me and all of my buddies, every one of them, we're not tough enough or strong enough to climb out of that hole with packs on to get that meat out. So, I know this guy, I've known him for a long time. I got him on speed dial. You go out, you go in there, you kill your bull, you climb to the top of that peak where you have cell service. That's when I use my cell phone. Not at night telling story time, but I'll climb up on that in the morning, then I'll tell a good story, right? I just call this guy and I say, hey, Scotty, I killed a bull. I'm down in so-and-so basin. Here's my GPS coordinates. All right? I'll see you tomorrow at 11. Okie doke. He gets his horses and his mules. He comes in there. I get every ounce of my meat out, every bite of it. 300 pounds this year, that bull. I got 300 pounds of meat that yielded. And I put that in there because I'm dang proud of that. I shot that bull at, 6:30 in the evening. And we were 1.5 miles from camp when I shot him. Killed him in the dark. I killed him in the dark. I caved him out, got him quartered. This thing was so big, he had so much neck meat that I borrowed one of Travis's game bags and filled one of them up with just neck meat. And that's a lot of good hamburger and stuff. But to get 300 pounds of meat off of any bull is a pretty big feat, especially on a hunt like that in the backcountry. It was 290. It's 297. That's what that's on there for, because we kept ourselves a pretty good chunk right here. We cut us off a little celebration chunk, so I'll go back to that in just a second. Something else I carry, I want to tell you guys about. Dennis Howell turned me on to this. This is 98 cents at Walmart. It's that plastic you put down on the floor, tape it to the floor when you're painting your walls. 98 cents weighs absolutely nothing. I've made shelter out of that. I've made little bags out of it to carry stuff out. Travis was carrying a one-piece quiver this year and fell off his bow. Looked down, and we're in the middle of nowhere, he's out of arrows. So we went back and I had a 20-ounce bottle of water I cut in half and stuffed a bunch of that stuff down the bottom of it. He strapped that to his pack to keep his other arrows in because he had spare arrows. You can use it for anything. But I like my meat, that's why I hunt. I protect my meat. It's the buck I killed this year. And I use elk-sized game bags. I put half of a deer in. That's one trip. First trip, half the deer goes out. I go back in, quarters, back strap, tenderloins, and the head. That'll be on the last trip out. I'm doing 2 trips with a deer. I will do that, but when you get an elk down and it's more than 1.5 miles, 2 miles from the car, I'm gonna have a packer come do it. That's the best $300 check you'll ever write. Now, everybody's told me I look like some kind of old traveling hobo here. That right there is a skillet that I got from my uncle that he used to have a beaver camp in Ohio. It's an aluminum skillet. And nothing tastes better than a trout or some elk backstraps cooked in that aluminum skillet. It weighs nothing. I carried it in. But meat's important. That's why I hunt. And there's nothing better than having food on a backcountry hunt that you normally couldn't get. You know, freeze-dried meals kind of burn out. These were just some pretty cool pics Travis took, so I thought I'd share them with you. It's part of our experience. All these bulls right here, not big. This is my biggest bull. He's a little over 300. Another nice little 6-point, another 5x6. These are just some bulls. They all came in that time frame of muzzleloader. Every one of those were killed a week a month. I think that was this is the Tuesday of muzzleloader, the Saturday of muzzleloader, Sunday of muzzleloader.
What time frame are we talking about?
September 9th, 8th, 9th, that weekend, whatever it falls on the 9th, 10th, 11th, through that following weekend, which would be 18th or whatever, 17th, whatever. It's like the second weekend of September to the third weekend of September is muzzleloader. A lot of guys like to go that last week because they think the muzzleloader hunters are gone. They have the whole hunt to themselves, and they go in. But man, you just recovered from a week of blasting with bow hunters and muzzleloader hunters in there. I've always had terrible luck the last week of season. Some guys love it. I don't like it. I want to be when the most activity is going on. When you have more hunters in the woods with the muzzleloaders going off, like I said, loading up that canyon I'm in, that's disrupting the elk and it's displacing them. And I had this old Uncle Gerald, he'd say, I'm going to kill me a buck today. When I was growing up in East Texas. I'd say, yeah, how do you know? Well, I'm going somewhere new. And he said, I'm going to be walking, he was the best storyteller in the world. He said, I'm just going to walk down this old trail, and this old buck, he's going to be walking down that trail, and he ain't never been there before, and I ain't never been there before, I'm going to kill him. He'd say it just like that, and by George, every time Uncle Gerald goes somewhere new, he'd kill a buck, every time. If you're in a spot that you've not been to, or you're out trying to get into elk, and you've got a lot of people in the woods displacing elk, you can be Eeyore. Oh man, there's people in the woods, it's not going my way. Or you can say, hey, my glass is half full. This has really got the elk moving around. This gives me a chance to get into them. That's how, and that's the way I view it. That's the way I do it. That right there, my friends, is a man defeated. That's Travis sitting on a log. 320 bull just got away, had him at 35 yards. Travis is tough as nails, fit as a fiddle, six-pack, abs, blow your mind. He's got it physically, but mentally he wasn't prepared for that kind of hunt. And I was sitting there next to him on this log after we'd just blown that stalk on that 320 bull. And he had a lot of things on his mind. Main thing he had on his mind was his 99-cent poncho in a torrential 3-day downpour. I was sitting in sick-of-gear cloudburst. I go as long as you want, man. Daddy's old, I got my gear. But you know what? Not everybody can afford that kind of stuff, right? I'm telling you, when I go back there that long and I know what I'm up against, I want to have the best stuff that I can have. I want all the tools I can have to make me successful. Sick-of-gear, Kuiu, all those brands, that new stuff out there. The Badlands new clothing is excellent. That stuff's an investment. You need to look at that equipment just like you look at your bows and your rangefinders, your binoculars. That stuff don't fade like the cotton stuff you go buy down at Walmart or sporting goods store. That stuff, Under Armour, he's got Under Armour. Under Armour makes some great backcountry wear. Make sure if you're going to endure, you're going to put yourself through this kind of misery, at least do it in style, do it with some clothes that can keep you dry, because he had a 99-cent poncho. There, look at that homemade quiver. A lot of lessons learned. Use a 2-piece quiver. Something that screws to the bow. If it just locks on with a wing nut, you're going to loosen that thing up and you're going to lose all your arrows in the wilderness. Well, I use a Hoyt bow, obviously, but I use the 2-piece 4-arrow. I always keep spare arrows in camp. And the thing in boots, feet were wet, and I could go. I still had enough in me to go for days on end. And Travis just said, man, I'm done. But next year, I'm going to be ready. And today, he's already stopped off at the Kuiu booth. He stopped off at the Crispy booth. He's looking at boots. He already tried on 2 or 3 pairs of boots. He's going to be ready. He's going to have the gear. He's going to have, because your mind can go and go and go and go. Your body will give out long before your mind gives out. But once your mind says, I'm done, body follows it right away and you're done. And it was hard for me. So we had 3 or 4 days of vacation left and we had bulls bugling. I wanted to see him punch his tag. But once you hit the wall, you're done. It's not fun anymore. Really, that's why we're hunting, guys. It's got to be fun. All this stuff, it's got to be fun. But if you're not having fun anymore, and this guy right here was not having fun. He was toast. Let's see what old Travis had to say in this one. Is there something else?
You can watch guys all day on TV, you know, and some of them are doing backcountry, a lot of them. For the guys that do backcountry, you have to earn respect for that. They deserve respect. If they're successful in the backcountry, even if you go and take a doe, you got something, you packed it out. That's incredible. I know what that means.
You know what? That means a lot to me. He gets it, because there's a lot.
You can watch guys.
There's a lot involved in a backcountry hunt like that. Travis got his first deer with a bow and arrow. This was he shot this deer up clear above timberline. And he shot her quartering away, made a great shot on her. But because she was going downhill, she went for a long time downhill, so she ran back into the timber. But he got him one. And he was as proud of that thing as if it had horns that came out to here. And you know, anytime you get something with a bow and arrow, it's something to really, you really need to be proud of that. Anything you get. He got that, and he was tickled with it, and you know, he's a backcountry hunter for life now. Success begins well before the trailhead. Get your stuff together. Takes mental toughness, physical conditioning. I'm not a picture of physical conditioning right now, I'll tell you that. But I will be in the summer. Every summer I'll lean down. If you want to be a wilderness athlete or a backcountry athlete or all that stuff, man, it only increases your chances because it builds your endurance and you can last longer. Shooting the shot has to be automatic, and that's a whole other topic, but I'm telling you, take a second. I don't care how many arrows a day, if it's just 1 or 50. But once the summertime comes, snow's gone, you get home, the days are longer. If you're going to be a hunter, bow hunter, the backcountry, you need to shoot your bow until your shot is automatic all the time. Because what happens when you get on a backcountry hunt, you don't have a target. You don't have a bag target like you do in your four-wheeler camp, or your camp with your camper or cabin or whatever you have. Whatever you have in the backcountry, you pack with you. And so, if your shot's not automatic, you're not shooting enough to where just every time you draw your bow back, you know exactly your anchor's on, everything's on the money. You need to have that to be automatic. And if you can't practice now. Now, some people I've seen pack little foam things with them to shoot at and stuff, and that's pretty good. But I found gopher moles, little molehills out there in the middle of the pasture. You shaking your head? You do that too? Yeah, you carry a blunt or a field tip, and you can shoot a little bit. And I'm telling you, it's good. At least once in the middle of the week, shoot your bow at some point. But if you're in rocky, steep terrain, hunting high country mule deer, it can be very challenging. And I tell you what, always go kick that pile of dirt. If you don't, you're going to shoot. The arrow's going to come halfway back to you because that gopher built his hole right on a rock pile. Happened to me all the time. You got to be flexible. That means guys and some gals, but mainly guys, are pretty rigid in our minds. This is what we like. This is how we like to do it. This was the plan. I'm sticking to the plan. If you get out in the woods, animals may not always stick to the plan. Be flexible. Be prepared to pack up and move across the unit if you don't find game. If it's an off season, those animals, you've been hunting in the high country or this backcountry basin forever, and you get back there and you're not finding them, say you have a 7-day hunt, you're on vacation, you're on 7 days, don't wait 5 days to go find game. If you're in there 2 or 3 days and you've not found them, man, don't be afraid to pack up and move. Be flexible. I've killed several animals the last part of a hunt because I was willing to pack up and move off to another part of the unit. Always think several steps ahead. Travis was like, I killed that bull, and he walked up, and man, we're emotional. I'm hugging him. He's like, golly, that thing's big. And he looked at it. What are we going to do now? I said, we're going to cut him up. And I already had, and I haven't communicated to Travis all of the plans. We're going to cut him up. We're going to hang him in a tree. We're going to call a mule. We're going to call a packer. We're going to meet the packer. The elk on the packer. He's going to haul it out to the cooler. Then we're going to come back and we're going to hunt for you. If I had not, I should have communicated the plan. Travis, this is the plan. Because he's sitting there going, I don't know what we're going to do next. And if I hadn't already done this before, I wouldn't have had a plan. So when you're looking at where you're going to go hunt or where you're going to go camp, if you're going to eat chicken and rice, sweet and sour rice, you need to think one step ahead and already have you a trash bag hanging in a tree where the bears can't get to it. And that's what Travis said early on in the intro to this thing. When you've got to think that critically on a hunt, it's all on you. You've got to have a plan and work the plan. Stick to the plan. But I don't want to scare anybody off. Maybe some of you guys do this kind of hunting and you're like, man, that's not been my experience at all. But at some point, some of this stuff's going to be your experience if you do it for 20 years. And I love it. It's what I do. And at this point now, I got some giveaways. I got a cool Badlands binocular case. Got some Hoyt hats and Hoyt stickers. So, got some question and answers. You can get rewarded with some kind of a hat or something. Yes, sir.
Do you have any special tricks to make your meat last a little longer after the shot? To give you the time for the pack train to come in? Or,
Yeah.
I thought about, putting them in bags and sinking them down in a creek.
Don't.
Don't put them in water.
Yep. Don't put your game in plastic bags. And don't put your plastic bags in the creek. I lost a whole ham. doing that with a cow I shot one time. I thought that was the best plan. Put it in a black trash bag, tied it up, and sunk it in a creek, and it was rotten like you wouldn't believe. It was cold water. You couldn't even put your feet in the water, but it rotted. Sun shining right down in that thing on that black bag just baked it. I mean, even though it's cold, it sealed it up. You couldn't breathe. The bacteria just overwhelmed the meat and killed it. What I do, I use decent game bags. I don't buy the real expensive game bags, but I buy nice, tight-knit, heavy-duty cotton game bags. Something I did this year, you know, where the bull fell, I checked, I made sure where the north side of the tree was. So it's dark. I'm in the dark, and I got this elk on the ground. I'm pouring it up, put it in bags. I've seen this happen too. If you put your game in a bag and you hang it on the east side of the tree or the south side of the tree that time of year, and the sun comes up, man, you're going to have sunlight on that thing all day long, just roasting it. So I found moss on the tree, made sure, and I already knew where north was, but and it was, you know, like where the bull laid, the whole raw side of the tree was right here. The easy part to get to. But, you know, Travis was like, what are you doing, man? I'm like, I've got to get back here. So I got back in the bushes and hung it where it was on the north side of the tree where it stayed in the shade all day. Elk and deer meat will be good for about 2.5, 3 days, what I've seen. Bone in, if you leave the bone in. But I don't mess around. As soon as something I kill hits the ground, I take pictures quick, and then I start cutting it up and breaking it down immediately. I would never, I've seen 2 full-blown elk spoiled, the whole thing. Guy shot it at night, shot it in the afternoon, blood trailed it, found it, spent 2 hours taking pictures of it till the sun went down, went back to camp, didn't even gut it. Went back the next day and the whole thing stunk to high heaven. Ruined it, wasted it. And I just, you know, pick who you hunt with. Because that's, not only is that immoral, it's against the law. Wasted that whole thing. If he wasn't my friend, I'd have turned him in. But I just got onto him. I said, man, if you're a little younger, I'd take my belt off. You don't do stuff like that. He shot that bull. That guy, he did 2 things. He took his pictures. You got to take your pictures. Well, I want that and everything. But man, that can't be why you're hunting. Everybody wants to see themselves in the Hoyt catalog and the Vortex catalog and the Under Armour catalog. That's cool. Well, I mean, everybody wants their glory for doing their thing. But man, you're really out there making meat. That needs to be priority 1. So get your pictures taken as fast as you can, but don't just roll up camp and you're gone. You got your chores to do. Have plenty of light. Have good lights. I'll tell you that, and spare batteries. Make sure, because it takes a while. It was like 6 hours to get that elk completely busted down, hung in trees, and back to camp. So your question was, that's a great question, so I'm going to give you a really great gift. The question was, how can you keep your meat? And if you're going to be longer than a couple of days, go ahead and bone your meat out, because it'll bone sour. Elk are big, dense animals, and their body's hot. You've walked up on a dead elk, they're hot when you touch them, especially in the rut. So you want to get them broke down. And in 2004, I killed a bull that I had mounted, and I gutted him, split him open, shot him late in the evening, got him gutted, split open, cooling out, went back to camp. We got back over there about 10 o'clock in the morning with the horses the next day, and the hair was already slipping on his neck. He already pulled the hair out. So this year, I didn't want that to happen because I was going to mount this bull. I knew I wanted him mounted. So we spent the extra time that night. And I mean, it was painful. I was grunting, groaning, rolling around. It hurt. My knees hurt. But I did the work I had to do to get the job done. And the cape was fine. I mean, I didn't lose 1 hair out of it. But I went ahead and caped him out in the dark. And caping an elk is, it just, for lack of a better term, it sucks. I mean, it's thick hide. And there's a lot of membrane. It's hard to cape one. But if you want it, you want investment, you want to have it, you got to do the work up front. I would not ever leave an elk head overnight if I had a choice. Sometimes you don't have a choice. But if you have a choice, always break them down at night. Always get them in the game bags as fast as you can, because the faster as you get that meat cooling down, the less opportunity for bacteria to break the meat down and spoil it there is. Yes, sir?
When you're going clear back in the backcountry, optics are always important when you're blasting above timberline. Do you take spotting scopes and...
I use spotting scopes and really big binoculars for scouting, but when I go way back like that on a hunt, I don't take big glass. I just take 1042s and my rangefinder. That's it. Because at that point, I'm not scouting anymore. Now, sheep hunting I did, yeah. When I was sheep hunting, I carried big glass every day, because you might be looking for sheep clear across the basin. But for mule deer and elk, and just knowing my spots like I do, I'm not gonna climb back over there. I just carry 1042 Vortex razors, and HDs, and I carry the Vortex Ranger 1000. What else? Right here, sir.
You mentioned carrying extra arrows when you go on the backcountry.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Do you keep the broadheads on there? Or?
No, I have a little broadhead box. You know, the little, Packer Creeps, like a little broadhead box. I put extra 6 broadheads in it. And then when I used to carry a big inflatable thermarest pad, I would shove my arrows in that, kind of protect them. But now I have a tube. At work, we have a big plotter that paper comes on, and it's got this thin plastic tube that the plotter paper's on. And I took one of those and cut it, went down, bought me some PVC caps at Big R, and just glued one into one end and just put a plug in the other. Weighs absolutely nothing. I just slide in one of the side pouches or on one of the straps on my pack, and I'll carry a half dozen extra arrows. I like to shoot. I like to shoot a lot. I'll shoot grouse. Man, I love to eat grouse when I'm back in the backcountry hunting, and I'll do some shooting, that's for sure. So I like to have plenty of arrows. Let's do this side again.
When you set up your base camp, when you back in and set up your base camp, when you head out like for a day, do you take like an extra day's worth of like food or rations so that if you have maybe an extra night?
Yes.
Away from camp, what's your strategy there?
I take enough food to last a day, a whole day, 24 hours. And